JP here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. This first trading session of June 3rd, 2024. Gonna be really quick pre-market ramble, talk about the market, some of the names I'm looking at, some of the names I'm in, some updates, and go from there. But what a crazy end of May. Friday's session, markets broke under the support, 524.50 on the SPY I was talking about for quite some time. Couldn't break above that. Then we were under 520. Got all the way down, I think it was 518 and change. What was the low on the SPY on Friday? It was 518.36. And then all held its held the ground pretty much till the afternoon. Then to 3:30, just a magical hand came in, 522, 523, 524, 5 all the way up to 527 close. Just pretty remarkable. So we went from being down nearly 1% to being up uh, nearly 1%, and a great May, 5% to the upside for the S&P. So new month. We'll see what happens here. We have the jobs report on Friday. Outside of that, there's also the first ECB rate cut will happen. I think that's going to be on Thursday. I think Canada's central bank is meeting, also going to do a rate cut. So it's going to kind of kick off the rate cut cycle. Who knows how far the Fed is going to go before they start cutting rates, but a good start there. Anything surprising from the ECB could move markets a little bit. But outside of that, earnings are kind of winding down. Still a couple names reporting this week. Just want to see that 525 handle hold. So if we hold that, I think maybe we could start to melt a little bit up to that 531 area and then work on possibly some more new highs in the coming weeks. So some of the names I'm looking at, and first I'll put on C3AI because I think it kind of plays well into HPQ and Dell. But that had earnings, great reports, talked about some upside contracts and deals, raised guidance, and then the CEO, I think, has a good explanation when you look at what's going on with AI, and of course that's the big buzzword. But who's going to benefit first? And first, you got to get the infrastructure in place. First the chips, then the servers, the computers, and all that fun stuff. And then after, what's going to power those is going to be the programming and the back end stuff. And that's where once all that infrastructure is in place, and not that things don't get upgraded, but once those are in place, then these names, like a name like AI, is just going to be the one that really starts to benefit. So once it was holding its ground, despite the market selling off on Friday, I added more calls. I think it trades up into the mid 30s, possibly retest that 38 high it hit in March. So I'll continue to look for opportunities to trade AI. I still have some strikes expiring this week, so hopefully it's a bigger rally than just a couple percent. Gets over maybe 34, 35 would be nice setting up. Also, it's over its 200-day moving average. It hasn't done that since February. So I think that bodes well for AI. Now into Dell. So I mean, Dell, the big beat and raise. Everybody's wondering why the stock is selling off on Friday, despite upgrades. And there's actually one analyst I think still has an underperform rating, a $90 price target. Maybe five years from now that Dell's a $90. Well, maybe not. I don't think so, because they're probably going to return shareholder value via stock buybacks and dividends. But until that happens, I mean, Dell's up here at 140 right now in the pre-market. I just think, I'm not saying it wasn't sold off for a reason, but I think there was concerns, and I put on the watch list. I don't know, I didn't publish the watch list yet, but I will in a minute, that there's concerns around margins, that I guess if you pull back some of the data that they had on their filings, it shows the possibility that there were zero margins for servers, which, I mean, if you're a company, especially a publicly traded company, you're not going to go into a line of business that has zero margins, right? That just doesn't, that's not how you stay in business, right? So I think some of it was just a little speculation, and then I think some was a little concerned that, hey, maybe it's not going to be a high margin area for Dell. So I think that's some reason it's sold off. But I think they upped their backlog up to, I think, 3.8 billion now from 2 point something billion. I think some were expecting, like myself, 5 billion, but I think that still bodes well. And I think it trades higher. So I added some more strikes. The funny thing is, you look at my chart and I had the bottom support and the top support, and hit the bottom support before bouncing on Friday. I'm not sure I'm going to add anything more on Dell. I'll just continue. I'll just have it play out, but I think it trades into the 150s in the next couple days, and then possibly up near 160. So that's Dell. HPQ, not going to add anything either on HPQ. Sold off in sympathy with Dell, down nearly 5%. Again, this is a story. It's not even. It's like early innings for HPQ. It's a back half of 2024. Not considering the stock hasn't done much over the last 2-3 years. It's the market's going to start pricing in at least a tiny bit of that, right? Even if it's just a tiny bit, I think it trades into the 40s. If they start pricing in more of that, it's going to trade 45, 50. And I've talked about my rant last week. I mean, if it just trades 1 times revenue, is $60 stock. 1.5 times revenue is 70, 75. and fundamental play. So it returns value to shareholders via buybacks and dividends. Um, and I think it continues to head higher. So a little pullback, but I think it trades up near 40 bucks in the next week or two. That's HPQ. Not going to talk too much about Broadcom, just going to repeat what I've been saying for the last month or two, that it's been a great name for a hedge trade when the market starts to show weakness and break some support. I think this is maybe it's the third time in a row that I was able to play some puts for downside. And at times when I got the puts, I think I got them on Tuesday or Wednesday, I put in a watch, or I said on my rant, I'm like, I'm just going to hold these despite the fact they were in the red. Vago was up. I mean, Broadcom was up over 1,400. I have the 1310 puts. Who thinks it would go down under 1310? Well, it hit 1307 on Friday. The puts, I had locked in most already. I was holding a couple just in case it broke under 1300, but I was able to close them out for some nice profits. I'll continue to look for Broadcom as a hedge trade, depending on where it goes. Hopefully, it bounces and rallies back into the 1400s, and I can use that for some downside. And footnote, I've also played Broadcom for some calls a couple weeks ago. So it doesn't mean I don't believe in the story. I think it just offers one of the better opportunities to play for a hedge on a risk reward basis. So that's Broadcom. GPCR, so Structure Therapeutics, they reported their oral data, 12-week data. The data is great. So it came in line and a little bit above expectations. The big issue, and the stock traded up to 50 bucks a little bit after the report, but it's come down here to 36 bucks, is the adverse effects. And that's why VKTX, Viking Therapeutics, theirs is best in class in regards to weight loss, best in class in regards to adverse effects. GPCR, which already had some adverse effects back when they had data back in the fall, this time they come out and it shows, I don't know if it's 36 people in the cohort, 60% of them had vomiting issues. So then you look at it and they kind of try to take away that fear and concern by saying it was the vomiting disappeared, kind of went away from most folks and dissipated as they continue to take the drug, but it's just not the type of thing you want to see in a phase 2 study. So the conference call is going on right now at 8:30. Hopefully they can alleviate some concerns and the stock can start heading higher. I'm going to need probably 50 bucks or so for my June strikes. But great data otherwise. And like I keep saying, I think there's plenty of space for all these names to do well in the GLP-1 space. Not going to talk too much about Fiverr. Finally, back-to-back green sessions was all the way over 26 on Friday, despite the market weakness. I think that's a good sign. Hopefully that continues to head higher. Same with ALGN Technologies, back-to-back sessions of green. And not to mention last Wednesday, it actually reversed red. So I think, well, I don't think, I'm hoping, but it looks like we have a bottom here. So like a line for upside. Spotify announced they're raising prices in the US now. And the first part of that was a couple months ago when I had calls. They announced the price raise in Europe. Here it is in the US. And they had phenomenal earnings back in the middle of, back at the end of April. Stock gapped up, was 320, 322 or so. And then it just sold off all the way down to 270 on no news, no catalyst. What should have been a report that sent it to 350, it didn't. And I got concerns around that whole subspace or membership space in conjunction with Netflix and things like that. Thought maybe this was the end, not the end of the sector, but maybe it was going to be put on pause, or those names are just going to consolidate. But here it is back at 312. And I was looking this morning, tight Bollinger Bands, nice setup. I mean, I could see spot going over 320 today. So I may look for some spec calls to play for move over 320 on Spotify. Oh, I'm not going to talk too much about ENVX either. I mean, that's like, how do you want to call it? Yeah, it's like a broken record, right? I just keep saying the same thing over and over again. I still don't believe in the story. I still don't think there's a space for a battery manufacturer. And even if there is a new battery manufacturer, it's going to trade at 1x revenues, which is pretty much, if you assume that somehow ENVX by some miracle is going to be able to produce enough batteries to create $1.2 billion in revenues on an annual basis, then that means they should be a $1.2 billion company. Right now, they're a $1.9 billion company. So with an accumulated deficit of $600 million, they've a dwindling cash supply. I can go on, but unfortunately, without penning any cows, there's so many folks who just think this is the next like ethanol for the car, or some kind of breakthrough that just going to set the world on fire. I just don't get it. So it's all speculation at this point. These things take time to play out. So I'm not sure. I still have later dated puts. I'll just probably continue to keep quiet about it, but don't think I don't have a position there. So that's the NVX, and GPCR just broke into the red here, probably on the adverse effects and the conference calls going. Hopefully, I can alleviate some concerns. Oh, last, Roaring Kitty came out with a post on Reddit saying he has over $100 million position in games. I don't know if he said it or he posted a position. The meme craze seems to be back on course. Poor Citron Research came out. Seemed like maybe he was not sure that Roaring Kitty had a position. So he said he's short GameStop again, even though back in 2021 he says, I'm never going to short GameStop, because he's short a GameStop at like $30 or $25 and went all the way up to $600. So he came out with this whole post saying, I'm shorting stuff. I'm never going to short companies anymore. I'm going to use my expertise to find long names only. And now he's slowly but surely getting back into his old faithful. I don't know if that's he gets his kicks out of being short or whatever. But he went and I don't know if it was last week or the week before saying he's short GameStop, and here it is up 100% or more since his post. So needless to say, need this to finally, maybe this is the kick iRobot needs to get going. Over $10 or so would be nice. Still holding some strikes, but gonna need some help there. Trying to think of some of the other names I'm looking at this week. Turn Pharmaceuticals sold off over 13-14% on Friday. No news, no catalyst. Gave back all the gains from the week. It is a high short interest name, so I don't know if someone came in and just said, hey, I have to load more shorts. I don't know. And there was no buyers to offset that. Also, it came down and tested its 250-day moving average on Friday, and it held. So, well, it bounced off it. So maybe that's a good sign here. Get to 650 or so today, and then start working its way up to $7. It seems like that $7 handle on turn is like oil and vinegar, and once it gets there, it doesn't like it. So hopefully the next time it gets there, it doesn't like the sixes anymore and just takes off. Finally, that's kind of the breakout I'm waiting for. That's about it, folks. About 8:47 here. I'll be on the audio later. Let's have a great day. Rock and roll.